will the Labour Party led by Keir Starmer end the 14-year rule of Conservatives, or whether Rishi Sunak will prove the critics and the opinion polls wrong and throw a surprise in UK election? Now, this is something that we will get to know after a few hours because UK is going to vote today. Now, in UK's House of Commons, there are 650 seats, majority mark is 326, and most opinion polls have suggested that the Labour Party is going to get a landslide victory. Now, what the opinion polls reflect, why Rishi Sunak is likely to lose this election, and what have been the major poll issues, we are going to discuss it with our foreign correspondent, Geeta Mohan, who has joined us from UK. Geeta, tell us, what is the mood in UK right now? What is your reading of the situation there?
Well, the mood over here in terms of the parties and the way the canvassing really happens, it is not like India. The canvassing is quite muted. It is not the same as you see in India with banners and posters everywhere. They normally go door to door. So it's a rather clean affair. But yes, the mood over here has certainly shifted. It does seem like the Labour is all set to form the next government and end the 14-year rule of the Conservatives over here in the United Kingdom. But then again, the posters are suggesting numbers such as 484. And if that really happens, then it will be historic because it will be more than what Tony Blair got in 1997. So that itself is a historic number. And should we believe pollsters in what they're giving to the Conservatives, that's just about a little over 64. And if that really happens, that also is going to be historic because they've never got such less numbers since the inception of the party itself. So we're looking at Churchill, Thatcher, and then now with Rishi Sunak at the helm of affairs, it seems like he really inherited the party at the wrong time with a lot of difficulties in a very difficult situation. And whilst he worked a lot, there still are a lot of questions. So when he went to people seeking their votes, whether he was able to convince his voters of the promises that he has made in the past and has not been able to deliver, but continues to make the promises of delivering them, is certainly something we'll have to wait and see. So it is a fight between the two, apart from the other parties that could get a few numbers as well. Liberal Democrats look quite good. Scottish National Party, Nigel Farage's Reform UK has made a lot of sound over here when it comes to social media campaigns, online. Nigel Farage actually did more in terms of numbers and eyeballs than any other leader. But it doesn't seem like his party is going to get any seats apart from maybe that one seat of Nigel Farage himself. And if that happens, that also again will be historic because it is going to be the first time that he'll become member of parliament after attempting to become a member for at least 7 times, I think.
How much damage you think Farage party is going to do to the Conservatives?
Well, he is damaging and eating into the Conservative vote bank because he's considered over here, informally or unofficially or, off camera, a lot of people say that Nigel Farage actually is the true Conservative. He's far right. He's made very strong extreme statements. So the old school Conservative vote bank could be looking at Nigel Farage. So yes, he is. His party is going to eat into the Conservative vote bank and votes as well. But even if it were not Nigel Farage, this time around it does seem like there's a Labour wave. And even in the London donut, which is London is divided into 6 zones, zone 4, 5 and 6, which are primarily conservative belts, they could actually see a major loss, about 70 seats here in London itself, and half of them could really be going to the Labour.
Okay. Talking about the issues in this elections, what do you think have been the major poll issues? One, of course, was the economic slowdown. I mean, economy has been in a very bad shape of London. Of course, there was inflation also. But Rishi Sunak has managed to brought down inflation from 11% that was in October last year to 2% in April. That's what it has been reported in UK media. What do you think have been the major poll issues, and where do you think Rishi Sunak went wrong and not able to appeal the voters this time?
So the major issues have been like you rightly said, dwindling economy, bringing up the GDP, which is the major poll promise of the Conservatives. But the Labour have been pinning them down and cornering them on a few major issues, which is the healthcare system, NHS. A lot of criticism that the Sunak administration received with regards to NHS and the fact that there are long waiting lists that people have to go through to even get basic health services. So that certainly is a very, very important area. Jobs, unemployment are also very big issues. But one major issue that had become a major poll plank for the opposition is immigration. Because while the Conservatives are the ones who would want illegal immigration and immigration stopped, SNP took a very extreme position of stopping immigration completely unless and until it's absolutely required. So illegal immigration is out of the question for the SNP. Over here, Rishi Sunak has not been able to deliver on the Rwanda plan that the Conservatives were looking at. And he has promised that the first flight will go around July 22nd to 24th. And should he come to power, that is going to happen. But again, whether he'll be able to convince his voters or has he been able to convince his voters, that certainly is going to happen is something we'll have to wait and see. And that certainly is a major issue. Labour has approached it very differently, but immigration certainly is also one of the major issues over here in the United Kingdom.
Okay, now this election has been preponed. Like it was supposed to held in December, but it is being held in July this year. Do you think? Where do you think Rishi Sunak is preponing of election is also going against Rishi Sunak, or it would have been the same result if that would have happened in December also?
Well, his popularity was dipping. He was losing a lot of points in the polls. Labour was already 20 points ahead of the Conservatives. And so, according to them and their reading, it didn't make sense to prolong this entire affair to a place where, if things did not improve, Rishi Sunak would have had to pay very, very badly and sorely so when it comes to the election. So the idea of an early election was to garner and capture as much as he can while the going is not that bad. Since they were predicting that it was only going to get worse. And that's why early elections, but it doesn't seem like these snap polls have really helped Rishi Sunak.
How do you think this election is going to affect the Indian diaspora there? What is mood among the Indian diaspora, if you have spoken to some of the people there?
Well, I did speak to a lot of people over here, and the Indian community is a very important one. An interesting election fact for our viewers is that in the United Kingdom, it's not just Brits who come out and vote. Any foreign national who's living over here and working over here, basis his passport and membership of the Commonwealth nations, which India is, he or she then can vote.
Who are they voting for?
He or she then can vote, and let me just finish. He or she then can vote, and so when I was speaking to the Indian students over here, quite a few of them very excited and have registered themselves and are going to cast their ballot. So even if you're a foreign national, you don't need a nationality to vote, but you do need to be a part of the Commonwealth nation. So that's an interesting fact. When I was speaking to them on whether how they're going to vote, what they're looking at, that again is interesting. Even if we're seeing a Labour wave, when it comes to the Indian community, whether it's because of emotional connect, the fact that he's of Indian origin, they certainly are rooting for Rishi Sunak. So that was an interesting take, given that could really tilt some of the voter balance to Conservatives' favour. But having said that, that also is the reason why we saw a lot of booing of the Indian community. We saw Keir Starmer visit temples, we saw Sunak visit temples. Certainly not just the Indian vote bank, but also the Hindu vote bank. A significant number here in the United Kingdom is what they were booing. But the Indian community over here quite fervently standing behind Rishi Sunak. Again, we do not know whether they're going to cast their ballot for the Conservatives because they like Rishi Sunak, or are they going to go the way their constituencies are going. But quite a few of them certainly are going to vote Conservative because of Sunak.
Okay. How much do you think? What will be the impact with India and UK relation after this election? I mean, which way, like Labour or Conservative, which party is more beneficial for India in terms of bilateral relation between India and UK?
See, India has become very important for the United Kingdom. Irrespective of who comes to power over here, they would want to engage India. And that's why, while we saw Sunak administration quite strongly, including Boris's administration, the Conservative Party very strongly engaged India on the free trade agreement, that really has not come through. I mean, there were Diwalis and Christmas deadlines that we saw, New Year deadlines, but that really did not happen. Something that the Conservatives would have liked to take forward. This is a very, very important relationship for the United Kingdom, and they, irrespective of who comes to power, they are going to engage. And why do I say that? Is even before elections, we had all the shadow ministers, important critical shadow ministers, health, treasury, and foreign. All of them visit India. Shadow ministers basically are ministers who follow a particular ministry here in India from the opposition. So if you have David Cameron as the foreign secretary, you have a shadow foreign secretary in the opposition, David Lammy, and David Lammy was in India. And so the treasury secretary as also the health secretary, which means that that's the kind of engagement we're looking at. There is a lot of work that has been done between India and the UK when it comes to the health sector, particularly when it comes to the Serum Institute, so on and so forth. Post-COVID, a lot of research that went on, medical research, which sees India-UK cooperation. So there's a lot that's happening between the two sides, and I don't see either party putting that at jeopardy because they think their ideas or policies don't align.
Okay. Thank you, Geeta. Thank you for your time and thank you for giving all the details.